on fire. I will personally go over there and stop it. Because I understand that does not work, it doesn't help anybody. I understand that it has to be classified. That the police work as agent provocateurs. Go! Down here. Here we go. Time to go home, boys. Time to go home, boys. Time to go home, boys. Go, move. Quick, post right there. Post right here. I don't think so. Let me go, please. I'm going. I'm going. Get out. I'm going. Get out. I'm going. Get out. Get out. Please let me have my vehicle. My bike. That's my vehicle. Stay back. Yes, I'm. Get out. I'm done. Good job. Squad 1, where you at? Bravo 1. Make a buffer, dude. We let you out.
You have your credentials? 15 minutes ago, half an hour ago, you won't believe.
Is it good? Okay.
Statue to 312. Thank you.
Go ahead. Let her out, let her
I
out.
just want you to be moved in car pending 200 South Craig Street.
What's going on?
I'm walking. I'm like, let me get out. They start camera like going all around us. I'm walking. Police officer just shoves me with his nightstick. I start running. They're like, you're not moving quick enough. Takes me and beats me.
Hey, for your safety, get on the ground. For your safety.
And now we're all being arrested for what?
Get on the ground. Sir, for your safety, get down on the ground.
Can I get out of press?
Sir, for your safety, get down. You're with the press?
Yes, sir.
Who are you with? Dude.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
She's out? Man, I thought you were caught.
Hips
Have
out.
you seen Pitt?
Hips out. Hips out. Hips out. Hips out.
You gotta go.
Keep your eyes open, all right? No, keep them open, man.
It's fair. It's work.
Tip your head all the way back, guy. Come on. I don't know. Come on, tip your head all the way back. I got one around my head, around my neck.
You have one on mine.
What about my backpack?
You got your backpack.
Yeah, your backpack's right behind
You're
you.
out of here. He's out of here. He's out of here. Yeah.
You want Andy?
Yeah, Andy and I'll stay.
Right here.
Good.
Right there, right there.
He was right next to me, and he literally turned around and he walked right up.
Run it, 59U.
Do the eyes, how close they get
All
up.
right, cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You all right?
All right, dude. You want some action?
Do you need a dry one?
Hey, where you guys parked?
I have a PhD in political science. I taught English at the University of California for 34 years. And now that I'm retired, I can devote all my time to writing books about deep politics. With the development of the atomic bomb, people worried about the decapitation of the American government. And so ever since the 50s, there have been groups of people, usually very interesting people, planning for what would happen if there was a nuclear attack and the government was, as they say, decapitated. And under Reagan, that planning went off in a new direction. Two of the key people doing the secret planning then were Cheney and Rumsfeld, although Cheney was just an ordinary congressman under Reagan, and Rumsfeld was the CEO of a drug company, but they were empowered to consider, they worked with Oliver North, and it was called Plans for the Suspension of the Government, and they changed the conditions. There was a special executive order which said it would no longer be for an atomic attack, but for any emergency. And that's why it was possible for COG actually to be instituted for the first time on September the 11th, which of course was not an atomic attack. By that time, Cheney and Rumsfeld had been working on the planning for 20 years. And in the late 90s, neither Cheney nor Rumsfeld was in the government. They were both CEOs of corporations. What this means, the only way the best evidence we have about it is to go back to when Oliver North was quizzed about it in the Iran-Contra hearings, and he was asked if he was working on plans to suspend the American Constitution. And the chairman of the committee, the Iran-Contra committee, banged his gavel and said, "We can't go into that in a public session," which sort of corroborated that he knew what was being talked about and there was something there. I think that many of the things that are most disturbing that we've seen since 9/11, the end of habeas corpus, warrantless detention, warrantless surveillance, and above all, preparations for martial law. Those are things that were described about this planning back in the 80s, and we've seen them all come to fruition since 9/11. So in my book, The Road to 9/11, I speculate that this is part of the COG plan that was implemented. The fact is we don't know, Congress doesn't know, and when Congressman DeFazio of the Homeland Security Committee saw that the state of emergency authorizing this had been renewed yet again in 2007, and that there were COG provisions in the classified annex, he asked to see them, and he was told he didn't have the clearance to see them. And then the Homeland Security chairman on stationery officially asked and was told that the committee didn't have the clearances to see what the COG planning was. So that this is we're getting to two levels of government here. One level of government where we have checks and balances, what we call the constitutional government, and a higher level of COG government where the constitutional authorities are not allowed to go. I don't want to get too much into detail, but I think a lot of what we don't understand about what happened on the morning of 9/11 and what Cheney was doing that morning, which is he's given two different versions of, all has to do that he was doing things on a COG phone, which wasn't even in the bunker under the White House, was in a more secure place. And that's why the 9/11 Commission looked for authorization to bring the planes down and so on, and they couldn't find that authorization. There's some kind of gap in the telephonic communication, and I think the answer is it's because we were going now to COG communications instead of ordinary communications. A state of emergency cannot last for more than a year and has to be renewed. And without mentioning the act, Bush did annually renew. And so it was clear when Obama was elected that we were going to find out what Obama would do. And a former Congressman, Dan Hamburg, and myself appealed to Obama, first of all, not to renew it, and also we appealed to Congress to observe another part of the same law that says that if there's any state of emergency is declared, then Congress shall, it's not an option, they're required by law to review it within 6 months and either terminate it or render it official. And we were waiting to see, and unfortunately Obama disappointed us just in September 2009. He then did, for the first time mentioning the act, say that under the terms of the act he was extending the state of emergency for another year. But this is not really a legal state of emergency under the act, because